This story illustrates Buddha's profound teachings for those who find themselves lost in despair, offering a path to inner peace and a new beginning. Once there was a wealthy merchant. His business was thriving, and he had abundant wealth and a happy family. However, life often doesn't go as planned. His business suffered a sudden collapse, leaving him buried in massive debt. To make matters worse, his wife left him, taking their son with her, and darkness enveloped his life. He drowned his sorrow in alcohol, gradually losing all hope to live. One day, he resolved to end his life. He decided to climb a nearby hill and throw himself into the river to end his suffering. But at that moment, fate brought a pivotal encounter into his life. As he climbed the hill toward the bridge, he sobbed, reminiscing about his past. This was when Buddha and his disciples passing by heard his cries. Buddha approached the despairing man. In a calm voice, Buddha asked, "What are you doing here?" The merchant, through tears, replied, "I no longer want to live. My life is full of darkness, and I have no hope left." Buddha smiled gently and said, "Before you end your life, may I ask you two small questions?" The merchant hesitated, but eventually nodded. "What do you want to know?" Buddha quietly asked, "Why do you wish to die?" The merchant sighed deeply and began to share his pain. "My business has failed completely. My debts are insurmountable. My wife and son have abandoned me. I see no reason to go on living." Buddha then asked, "Was your life always devoid of happiness? Were there times when your life was filled with joy and light?" The merchant smiled faintly as he recalled, "Honestly, I was very happy in the past. I had money, a family, and friends. I felt like a king." Buddha nodded deeply and said, "In that case, I shall show you the greatest happiness you can achieve. But before that, come to my ashram tomorrow morning. I will tell you everything." This glimmer of hope led the merchant to abandon his immediate plans. He decided to return home. The next morning, the merchant visited the ashram, where Buddha and his disciples awaited him. Buddha asked the merchant to sit down and began speaking. "Let me introduce you to my disciples first," Buddha said. Buddha told the stories of his disciples, each of whom had faced incredible hardship. One had lost limbs in war, another had witnessed the death of his entire family, and yet another had lost all his wealth and become a beggar. Listening to these stories, the merchant began to realize that his situation, though dire, was not as unique or insurmountable as he had believed. Buddha then turned to the merchant and said, "Life is like day and night. It constantly changes. There will be happiness, and there will be suffering. This is the eternal truth of the world. What is important is to remain peaceful and steady in your heart, regardless of the situation." Buddha continued, "We often compare ourselves to others, and this comparison becomes the root of our suffering. True happiness doesn't come from external circumstances, but from inner peace." The merchant, deeply moved, wept and said, "Buddha, your words have opened my eyes. I will start a new life from today." Buddha's teachings saved the merchant from despair and brought light back into his life. While suffering and hardship are unavoidable in life, how we perceive and respond to them is what truly matters. Happiness is not determined by external conditions, but by the state of our hearts. What should we do when we feel overwhelmed by despair? First, we must calmly examine ourselves, even in the depths of despair. By looking at our situation from a new perspective, we can often find a glimmer of hope. Letting go of desires and attachments and seeking inner peace is the path to true happiness. Key takeaways from today's lesson. Despair is temporary. Life's hardships will change with time. Stop comparing yourself to others. Find your own value and focus on it. Pursue inner peace. Happiness comes from within. Have the courage to act. Take small steps to transform your life. Buddha's teachings provide us with timeless insights that are just as relevant today. The next time you feel stuck in despair, remember these teachings, reflect on your heart, and take the first step toward a new path. Thank you for watching. May you find peace and happiness in your life.